So far on the big game, while a man named Viffer has been running extremely hot,
Nobody can beat the Viffer.
I am a very lucky man.
others have not been as fortunate.
I tell you how to win a pot around here.
The loose cannon is closing in on dangerous territory
Can't win if you don't play, man.
as his stack is starting to sink.
That's not even good enough.
See if Troy can catch himself a big fish
Should outplay these fish.
against these big guns on the big game.
Now the game's on.
This is the PokerStars.com Big Game.
Welcome to Las Vegas, Nevada, home of the big game. Alongside Joe Stapleton, I'm Chris Rose, and tonight some of the best in the world continue to tangle in our state-of-the-art poker room. Right now there's nearly $1 million in cold hard cash on the table.
David Pete, better known as Viffer, the high-stakes cash game player from Vegas, continues to run well. He's up $134,000.
Also headed in the right direction is three-time bracelet winner Barry Greenstein, who's up almost $45K.
The magician Antonio Esfandiari might be down 25-5, but he's playing well.
One of the good guys in the game, Chow Jiang, has been struggling. He is down almost $60,000.
Wealthy businessman Rick Rahim never saw a hand he didn't like. Winning small pots and losing big ones, he's stuck $61K.
And the loose cannon is Troy Howard from Niagara Falls, New York. The 29-year-old music engineer and father of five is currently down $35,000. Right now, he's with Amanda Leatherman.
All right, Troy, it looks like you have a lot of work to do to get back to positive.
A little bit, yeah.
Losing hope at all?
No, I just haven't caught any cards. I've been trying to play my position. I've been raising when I can, but, you also got to hit a flop, So we'll see what happens. I just got to catch a card or I got to push it and get lucky. We'll see what happens.
Well, what you need to do is give your kids one good luck shout out before you get back to the table.
I love you girls. Keep hope alive. You're watching Daddy. I'm be home soon.
All right, Troy, get out there and get them.
And here are the loose cannon rules. Each cannon staked $100,000 to play and keeps all winnings above the initial $100,000. At season's end, the loose cannon who's won the most money earns that North American Poker Tour passport worth $50,000.
Nadia Magnus is the leading loose cannon for that passport at over $63,000 in winnings. Since he's down $35,000, catching her probably not the first thing on Troy's mind. Although maybe the first thing on his mind is the fact that Viffer's straddling his big blind.
That's happened a lot at this table. A lot of straddles, very aggressive play. Action folds around to Chow. He's out. Rick Rahim folds as well. Troy, king-6 suited. Calls. Ace-queen suited for Viffer, who raises to 2,800.
Don't have a choice. Yeah, he's got 9-7.
Suited.
Yeah, that is true.
Viffer suited, but it's a little better than 7-9. Standard call from Troy, but up against one other opponent. Probably not so bad if he had raised a suited king in the first place. Just saying.
10-4-8, 2 diamonds on the flop.
Check.
Total airball for Troy.
Goes check, bet by Viffer, and fold by Howard.
He said, don't pick on the guy, don't raise him, and then boom, you got limp.
Barry, well, you would have raised him with that hand.
That was his road right there, 10-8. I said he got 9-7.
I'm gonna bet you anybody at the table would have raised you with that hand.
Viffer continues where he left off while the loose cannon leaks more money. Right now, here are the rules of the big game. Each table lasts exactly 150 hands. The action pre-flop is pot limit, then no limit after the flop. Blinds are 2 and 400 with a $100 ante, all of which is paid by the player on the button. Every player begins with at least $100K and can reload for up to $500,000. The loose cannon, Troy Howard on the button this hand, so action begins with the magician who folds. Chow's out. Rick Rahim. Let's say his play, Joe, has been erratic.
Well, if you're just joining us on the big game, Rick Rahim's range only consists of cards with letters and or numbers on them.
Rick limps in. Troy Howard on the button. Also calls. Viffer's in. Barry checks his option.
Troy makes a semi-loose call, but he's in position.
I predict that one of us is going to win this hand.
I'll bet you it's somebody on this side of the table.
Jack, deuce, ace, 2 spades. Check, check, check on over to the cannon.
Viffer's flopped the best pair.
Howard fires 1,100.
1,100.
Playing his position.
Viffer calls. Barry folds.
Raise.
Look out, Rick's making a move, which so far has meant juicing the pot for his opponents.
47.
To 4,700.
It's a small raise. Everyone can call.
Troy folds.
I know you're calling. I haven't won a pot with you yet.
At a straight draw.
Did you?
Viffer folds.
All right. Maybe next time. I'm surprised you didn't beat me on that hand, too.
I might have folded the best hand.
You might have. I doubt it, but...
Raheem did get him to fold the best hand for once. He's our most active player at the table and check raising nearly 20% of the time. It worked there, but the table seems to know what's up. He's winning the small ones and losing the big ones.
All right, who's going to double me up? Oh, you looked? You looked?
Probably me. I'm the most likely candidate.
All right.
I mean, I'm the worst player here. I'm the worst player here. But you can afford to double them up, so...
And you can't double them up.
Well, hold on. I got pockets. I got pockets now. I've just been trying to see if I could double up myself real quick.
That's good.
Action on Chow, who has ladies.
Queen, queen for Chow Chow.
Raised to 1,600. Ace-3 for Rick.
All right. I got some gamble in me.
Amen.
He calls.
I'm not thinking. I'm just trying to do my Maverick thing where I change the cards.
It won't work.
I need a hand. You don't know. You don't know. We got magicians at the table.
It didn't work.
The magician.
That's not the one. No, that probably was perfect. Probably the hand I needed to fold.
Viffer calls with suited connectors. Barry calls with 10s. Antonio's out.
Even with a hand as big as queens with 3 opponents, Chow's still a dog to the field.
4 to the flop, which is 9-10 Trey. Greenstein checks his set.
Chow's a much bigger dog now. This could get very ugly for him.
He leads out, betting 4 grand.
By checking, Barry allows Chow to continuation bet. Since it's a continuation bet, there's a bigger chance it's a bluff and it's more likely to get called.
Rick calls with bottom pair. Viffer folds.
By checking, Barry gets to build himself a pot without even having to act strong.
He raises to 13,000.
Now, Chow has to be a little worried about the strength of this check raise. Rick's call may have juiced the pot for Barry, but Rick's presence hurts him a bit here since his check raise wouldn't look as strong in a heads-up pot as it does against 2 opponents.
Chow doesn't get away from it. Calls.
There goes the dead money.
Chow's dead to a queen or running straight cards.
The turn card. 8 of diamonds. No immediate help to Chow, but it does give him a straight draw. Barry fires 20 grand.
Barry's made a bet, but an 8 is the last card he wants to see since Queen Jack is the most obvious draw out there. Even still, Barry's taking advantage of the fact that his hand is going to be good here most of the time.
Chow does call.
Barry's acting very strong. Chow may have gotten away from this had he not picked up the extra 4 outs to the gut shot.
And of course, when Barry Greenstein's involved, an ace on the river.
This is a great card for Barry to like his hand, but not a great one for getting value since it's a scare card for Chow.
Barry bets 42,000.
That's a blood, not bad.
Barry's made a value bet for a little more than half the pot.
Crazy, how bad are they doing this thing?
At this point, Chow can't beat most of the hands in Barry's range for the way the action went.
Oh, man.
Just about 40% of his stack to make this call.
3-9, 3-10.
Pocket queens is nothing but a bluff catcher at this point.
All right.
Chow calls, and Barry wins the pot.
3-10, now give it to him. I ain't putting 3-10 and still call. Good hand. Ah, I'm
Now let's open it up a little bit and play some poker.
I'll feel it.
Barry Greenstein wins a pot of more than $161,000.
Put a 3-9, 3-10.
Yeah, you're right.
Barry Greenstein takes down the biggest pot of the week and now has turned a profit of $127,000. The big game is just getting going. Much more from Las Vegas coming your way after this. Welcome back to Las Vegas. Thanks to that last hand, Barry Greenstein is up over 127 grand after flopping a set against Chow's Queens. Barry explained his decision-making process when he allowed us to go behind the poker face.
You know, Chow's not normally as tight a player as it looked, but he got behind right away. You know, when he raised pre-flop, it made sense that he'd have an overpair. And now the flop came 10-9-3, and I had 2 10s, and I flopped, you know, the nuts at this point. I flopped top set. He bet, Rick called. And some people just slow play and call right there, but the problem is Chow probably had a pretty decent hand to bet into 3 people, and Rick probably had some sort of draw. So I thought it was better to raise right there. He bet 4,000 on the flop. I raised to 13,000. I thought there was a decent chance I'd get called in both spots, and Chow called, and Rick folded. At this point in my mind, I was putting Chow in a hand like aces or kings, and so now I was building a good pot where I, you know, the nuts. Now an 8 came on the turn, which is a dangerous card because Queen Jack would now make a straight. I would have probably bet 25,000 if a straight card didn't come off, but I bet 20,000 because I didn't want to scare him out. He called the 20,000, seemed to call pretty comfortably. At this point, you know, when he called, I said, nah, he's probably got jacks or queens because he doesn't seem that afraid of the straight, which means maybe he's at least drawing back at it. On the river, I just said, don't put up a jack or a queen. And an ace came. Well, the ace wasn't that great a card because there's an outside chance it makes him 3 aces, of course, which would be really terrible for me. But the other thing is if he has what I think he has, he may not pay off that big a bet on the river because even if he puts me on some hand that he had beat like ace 10, I've now drawn out on him. But once the ace came, I bet 42,000. The problem with betting only 42,000 was it looked like I wanted to get called.
Oh, man.
But I actually think I'd have probably gotten paid off for a 50,000 bet easier than 42, because 50 it was big enough that it might have looked like it could have been a bluff to him.
Very chilly.
I think he called knowing he was probably beat, but he wanted to see what happened to him.
Well, there you have it. Flop a huge hand, don't get outdrawn, and get paid off. Takes years of experience to play like that.
How much experience does it take to get stuck over 135 grand?
Anyone can get outflopped, even beginners. Looks like we won't have a straddle this hand.
So the action begins with Greenstein.
Well, we need a prop or something.
Oh, I missed my strategy.
Barry folds. Pocket 6s for Antonio.
You could do
Raise.
it. Anybody that ever wants to put money in the pot with me, they're more than welcome.
Another pocket pair for Chow makes the call.
All right, I'm gonna play my favorite hand here.
Oh, come on. Rick's in with 7 deuce offsuit.
Rick only called with 7 deuce. He's clearly tightening up his button range.
Troy Howard calls. Viffer's out, so 4 to the flop. This ought to be fun.
Poor Chow Chow's a dog even to 7 deuce right now.
Queen, king, 9, 2 spades. Howard checks. Esfandiari checks. Chow checks. And Rick checks. King on the turn.
With it checking around, Troy might feel like it's safe to bet his queen now.
Fires 2,000. Antonio's out. Chow's out.
Rick can only win this hand with a bluff. Let's see if he uses this opportunity to do it.
He calls.
Nope, he decides to float to turn instead. I'd expect to see a big bluff here on the river.
The river card is the 4 of diamonds. Troy first to act. That's 4,000.
Let's see if Rick tries to take it away.
Race.
He's going to try.
$14,000 more.
A raise to $18,000.
Troy's made an attempt at a value bet, and Rick's come over the top.
Problem is you were talking when you were playing him, and you obviously had a hand. You check, you miss your flush draw. You don't. I know you well enough to know you wouldn't check that king on the flop.
That's an easy call.
Well, kinda, cause you look like you're on a busted flush draw to me. I think I gotta call you. I call.
You win. Good call.
Troy wins his biggest pot of the week.
You got it.
Can I see those cards, sir?
That's not a good thing to do, by the way.
Okay. I was talking to him, not the dealer.
See him if
He
you
could've
want,
showed me,
but that's
right?
bad karma.
I was talking to him.
You'll see him on TV. Don't worry.
I wouldn't talk to the dealer.
That's right. That's right. You're going to get to see everyone's.
It was 100% good call.
These loose cannons are a little too tough.
All right, guys, I'm going to my pocket. Pulling 50 out.
So Rick Rahim adds 50 grand to his stack. He's in for 150,000. In the meantime, the loose cannon Troy Howard is inching closer back to Profitville.
Troy's inching closer courtesy of Rick Rahim. He just won his first showdown in 3 tries, picking off a river bluff from Rick Rahim, who himself has yet to win a showdown. Every time he's been looked up, he's had the worst of it, and yet still hasn't changed his style one bit.
I wouldn't expect anything less from Rick Rahim.
Explains why he just went into his pocket for another 50K.
Okay, you can straddle for 8 now. Come on, you're on the upward swing.
Got to be on the plusward string.
You're free rolling anyway. What's the difference?
Not free rolling,
That's
buddy.
the time to straddle.
I got a mortgage to pay. This ain't a free roll.
Good point.
And he doesn't take off work to be here.
Exactly.
The Viffer.
The loose cannon looking at Jack 4 and folding. Viffer, suited connectors. Raised to 1,200. Barry folds. King Jack offsuit for the Magician. Calls. Chow folds. And Rick, King 7. Of course he's in.
My 2 favorite players.
Oh, thank you, dear.
Tender
I love
moment.
you too.
This is getting sweet. 7 queen ace, 2 clubs on the flop.
Despite being dominated, Rahim flops the best hand.
And checks over to Viffer, who has a flush draw and bets 3,000.
Even though he's behind, Viffer's the slight favorite with his pair and flush draw.
Esfandiari calls with a gut shot. Rahim folds.
Rick finally folds a flop, and he's got the best hand.
The turn, the 9 of diamonds. Viffer checks. Esfandiari checks.
Check, check for pot control.
5 of clubs on the river, giving Viffer a flush.
Viffer has made his flush, but it'll probably be tough for him to get any value from it.
He bets 8,000.
Maybe a little Hollywooding here from Antonio. He knows he can't call.
And he folds. So Viffer picks up another nice little pot. And overall, Joe, he's the man at this table.
That's right. He's at his peak right now. He's up over 145,000. He's also the big winner for the table. He's been playing aggressive, and even though he lifted this pot from Antonio, he's really had Rick Rahim's number the entire night.
And Viffer is also the straddler this hand. So action begins on Barry Greenstein. Ace-Jack suited. And a raise to 2,500. Antonio folds. Another pocket pair for Chow.
Cool.
Hold up. Hold up. Look at 10.
Raise from Chow.
Rick got a little jumpy there, tried to steamroll Chow.
I didn't realize he had cards. You keep covering your cards up. You just saved me.
Rick folds after all that. Troy Howard out as well. Viffer folds, and now the action back on Barry.
It's plus EV for Chow to re-raise with a hand like 9s, but he did eliminate 2 of the weaker players.
How much you got, Chow?
About 50 something.
Chow's image has been pretty tight this session. Barry's not really getting great implied odds.
And so he
I'll
folds.
win the pot. All right. Better than lose. Yeah.
Yeah, Chow will take anything he can get.
Ain't no fun when the rabbit has the gun, huh, Chow?
Chow got a little wascally and chased away a potential customer. More of the big game when we come back. Welcome back to Las Vegas, Nevada, home of the big game. Quick reminder, if you can't get enough of the big game, you can see all the stats for every hand at this table, as well as bonus hands and footage deemed too hot for TV on the website.
If you lose a pot to me, it's a tax write-off, guys.
Bluffing is not a legitimate business expense.
Queen 9 for the loose cannon who folds. Viffer raised to 1,200 with 6 high.
Viffer's been raising a lot of suited connectors. Connect them with the board, and they tend to make deceptively strong hands.
Antonio on the button re-raises to 4,000. Chow folds.
All right. I'm going to play with the Magician this time.
Rick calls.
Also with suited connectors.
The original raiser is sticking around. Makes the call. 3 to the flop.
Check in the dark.
Rick checked in the dark. Trey 5 ace, 2 diamonds. Viffer checks.
This is an action flop for our two most aggressive players at the table. Viffer's got an open-ended straight draw, and Raheem's got a flush draw.
And Antonio leads out.
He's continuing his pre-flop aggression, but probably doesn't realize how strong these draws are.
This could be a big hand. Well, I got 3 options. I just eliminated folding.
Shocker.
I'm down to 2.
Rick's drawing to the second nut flush, but at the moment, even Antonio's king high hasn't beat.
I'm all in.
How's that for an option? All in.
All in.
Now Viffer's got the option of drawing to his straight for 64,000. He does not have the right odds.
Not gonna let you draw on me if that's what you got.
So Viffer's out. So's the magician.
Another check raise from Raheem, this time a very good play.
Came to play, boys.
Nice hand.
That was a sexy flop.
You liked it too? I was scared of the diamond draw, otherwise I just smooth called her.
Rick also appears to be a compulsive liar.
So he fits right in. Rick has been a complete wild card at this table, but what you see on the felt isn't always what you get from the real Raheem.
My name is Rick Raheem. I don't have a nickname, but they have a lot of names for me. But my style is very simple. I try to make half the people at the table my friend and half of them my enemies. If I happen to get under somebody's skin and they deserve it, I will really dig in and really frustrate them. I love picking on guys that are just, uptight. If everyone sits around and they're all stiff and they're all just kind of, focused on the game, it's just not fun. I mean, I play poker to have a good time. I have a pretty calm and fun demeanor, and for me, I don't jump up, I don't scream, I don't put my finger in people's faces. I do the opposite. I kind of jokingly rip them and get them to rise to the occasion and kind of make fools of themselves to everybody else. I've been very lucky in my life, and I try to give back, so I'm very involved with charity. I volunteer. I'm a helicopter pilot, too. I have a helicopter, so I fly a lot of kids. I have a program where I fly any kid from any social or economic background and fly them and introduce them to, the wonders of flight and, try to make sure the kids out there are being exposed to the possibility of them being able to do anything in the world that they want to do if they just work hard and set their goals.
So it looks like Rick might be putting on a bit of an act at the poker table. Poker and generosity go hand in hand. Every other pro at this table is active in various charitable organizations.
Well, Rick's being charitable at the table as well, giving away his chips to everyone.
In more than one way, yes. Quite the charitable fellow.
The action will begin on Barry Greenstein since Viffer is on the straddle. King 9 folds. Antonio's out. Suited connectors for Chow Chow.
Well,
On the button.
22.
Raises to 2,200.
I'm calling anything. I'm playing the rush. Doesn't matter.
We know that.
I'm calling anything. If I can win 2 in a row, you guys are going to be in trouble. Because then I'm going to get chirpy. You know what chirpy means? Okay, I'll show you in a minute.
I think he might be showing us now.
Viffer, pocket pair. On the straddle, just calls.
I have a feeling things are about to get chirpy, Chris.
Would that be chirpy or chippy?
You got me.
Trey 6, queen, 2 hearts.
Check.
Check by Raheem. Viffer checks. Chow checks.
Chow opts to not continue.
8 of hearts on the turn.
3 hearts on board. Viffer's the only player holding a heart. Both Rick and Chow have picked up gut shots.
Rick bets 5,000.
5,000.
Let's do it. I'm going for my 2 in a row. Give it to me now or give it to me on the river. I don't care.
Viffer folds.
Oh, you got him.
Yeah.
And so's Chow.
Rick bluffs another pot.
I forgot your last hand, too. And I'm going for 3 in a row now. Come on, loose gun. Loose cannon, let's go. Your turn.
What you want to do?
What do I want to do?
Wants to gamble.
No, he does not want to
Look,
gamble.
I just want to play
Tightest player at the table here.
friendly game of poker.
Hasn't called a hand in an hour.
I'm just playing a friendly game of
You
poker.
do have to loosen up a little bit, though.
Okay, I'm sorry.
If Rick Raheem loosened up anymore, he'd probably fall apart.
The helicopter pilot is loosey-goosey and beginning to take flight. More of the big game when we come back. We are halfway home, and so far, Viffer and Barry are the big winners, while Chow has gone in the other direction.
The loose cannon has gotten some back. He's down about 14,000. Remember, if Troy is positive after 150 hands, he keeps anything over 100,000.
Once again, alongside Joe Stapleton, I'm Chris Rose. Joe, we have reached the halfway point of the session, and Troy Howard, our loose cannon, is off to a very rocky start so far.
Troy's being far too passive and allowing the aggressive players to push him around. Pre-flop, he's raising a table low 7% of the time and has not 3-bet or check raised even once in 75 hands. If Troy wants to turn a profit against these sharks, he's going to have to knock off the floundering.
Okay, Joe, now tell me, what's going on with the two maniacs at the table, Viffer and Rick Rahim?
Well, Chris, they bring an interesting dynamic to the table since they're both playing extremely loose. If we look at the VPIP, you can see that Viffer is playing over half the hands, and Rahim has played a ridiculous 50 of the 75 hands he's been dealt. They're ranked 1 and 2 at the table in total pots won, with each taking down a third of the hands played, so it would seem as if playing a lot of hands is working out for them.
So if they're both winning all these pots, why is Viffer up 136 grand and Rahim is down almost 60 gur?
It's a good question. While it may look like they're playing similar styles, they're actually not. It's all a matter of quality over quantity and when the pots are being won. Although Rick's winning almost a third of the pots, more than half of them have come pre-flop, and most of those wins have been fairly small. After the flop, he has by far the highest check raise percentage at the table. Now, the check raise is a strong move, but when Rick has good hands, he's losing customers on later streets by forcing medium strength hands to fold on the flop. Also, regardless of his hand strength, Rahim keeps betting big. The repercussions are that when he's strong, he's not getting paid off by worse hands, and conversely, he's only getting called by hands that have him beat.
So that pretty much explains why Rick hasn't won a single showdown the entire session and is losing most of the big pots he actually gets involved in.
Exactly. Viffer, on the other hand, is profiting by making excellent value bets against his opponents and letting his marginal hands go. He's won more than 90% of his showdowns and raked in over 300K when the hole cards get flipped over, which is why he's up. So while Rahim needs to quiet things down a bit, Troy Howard, the music engineer, needs to check the levels instead of the flop and find a way to turn up the volume.
As action continues, Troy's fiancée, Megan Van Wormer, has joined Amanda in the lounge to see if she can bring her man some good luck.
Hey, Troy.
Yeah.
Do you think you're a better rapper than Jeff Madsen or Prahlad Friedman?
Those guys, they're not even on my level. They're not even, I mean, seriously. Who's the first guy you said?
Jeff Madsen.
I never heard him. I never heard him rap.
Uh-huh. She says.
He's the white kid that said he rapped. Remember? Yes, you did, the other day.
Oh,
The only
well,
other
it was
guy.
definitely better than the Prahlad Friedman rap.
Can we get Parlad down here for a wrap off?
Let's get him down here.
My money's on Troy.
My money's on Troy too.
My money, yeah, their money's on me. I don't have any money, so y'all let
we
them
got
bet
it.
for me, you know? I just want 20% stake in it. I guarantee you there's not a person you can bring down here. I guarantee you. I put my house on it.
Right, very.
I guarantee you.
He wants to put his house on it. What do you think about that, fiance?
Yeah.
He can bet the house on his rap.
Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
Yes.
That's a good woman you got there.
That's love.
That's how I got the house.
That's love.
Troy bets his rap more aggressively than his poker hands.
Chow raises.
I just feel like I'm a little too old to be a rapper, but I'm just so good.
Let's stick to poker then.
Yeah.
Troy wants Troy at the table as long as he's got money.
They won't let me stop. They keep pulling me back in.
Troy folds, Viffer's out, and Barry folds. So Chow's raise gets it done.
Chow wins another tiny pot.
That one of $4,200.
Most of which was his raise.
You got all aggressive. And that's because you started talking about what a great rapper you are.
Right, and now they want me to be aggressive.
You got all aggressive.
They want this $1 million smile. Holla, what's up with it?
I think Troy got into the sugar water at halftime.
I'm trying to get that young patch right here, man.
They sell them for $3. You can have one.
Well, I have some, you know. I sold them. They don't, you know, it's not quite the same
Action
design.
folds over to Rick.
Mine's in marker.
He calls. Jack 8 for the loose cannon on the button. Limps in.
Well, the sugar water hasn't made his play any more aggressive.
Viffer calls.
Let's take a flop.
And Barry checks his option.
This may be the cheapest flop we've seen.
The part of it is supposed to be eligible.
Smallest pot we've played yet.
Troy's on the button. Viffer and Barry are both out of position.
9-10-4 on the flop. Viffer checks. Greenstein checks.
All right, I'll take a shot.
Rahim's got a flush draw.
Bets 1,500.
Troy's got an open-ended straight draw.
You don't believe me.
calls.
It's not that. I just got a really good hand.
Viffer and Barry fold.
Can't be that good. You couldn't raise me with it.
Well, I got to see if you hit your diamond on the turn.
I don't need a diamond. I don't want you to hit a diamond.
No diamond, 5 of clubs.
Do I look like a man with a flush draw?
Well, looking at all the red behind you, yes.
Rick bets 4,000.
That red's trying to get me to,
Yeah, they're trying to pump you up, man. Bring out the aggressive.
Troy calls.
Yeah, you definitely have the flush draw.
You have a horrible read.
Do I?
For the record.
King of diamonds on the river.
Oh, or a great one. I might have a straight flush now.
Flush for Rick.
You don't have a straight flush.
A straight or a flush.
You don't have a straight flush. But I'll take the risk and find out.
Rick bets 10 grand.
That's too big of a card on the list.
Troy folds.
You can tell Troy's not used to lying. Now Raheem, he's a pro.
Well, considering I had the jack of diamonds in my hand with the ace, there's no way you had a straight flush.
Not only did Raheem hit the diamond on the river, but he seems to also be hitting Troy's last nerve.
The loose cannon getting into a verbal battle with Rick Raheem. Will that affect Troy Howard's play? There's only one way to find out. Don't go anywhere here on The Big Game. Back with more after this. Welcome back to Las Vegas, where the big game's fourth loose cannon, Troy Howard, has recently bled some chips. Nadia Magnus and Ernest Wiggins have already won some life-changing money, but Will Davis's dream came up short.
One double up in Troy's back in contention to overtake Nadia for that NAPT passport. Maybe he'll win enough to buy a house for his fiance, and then he can just gamble the other one on his wrapping.
I'm the eye candy.
Then we're all in trouble. If you're the eye candy, we're all in trouble.
I thought Cha-Cha was the eye candy.
I'm with you.
Rick double straddled, so the action's on Howard.
Somebody's got to be in his shadow.
Just remember, Barry, I'm on tilt. I'm going to call you and outflop you, even though you may have the best hand.
Barry with a good hand, raises to 5,500. Antonio folds. Chow. Jack 10 suited.
Barry's raised, but with the dead money in the pot, that means his range is a little wider. Jack 10 suited is a pretty strong hand in itself, but he could already be ahead of Barry.
I love the double shuffle.
Okay.
That takes talent. Oh.
Chow calls.
I like the Antonio, how does it go? This is sexy.
This is why they call him the magician.
That is sexy.
That is too much time on your hands.
I'll throw my panties on the stage. That's so sexy.
Yeah, up there next to Joe's will be fine.
Oh, man.
Sorry. Action on the double straddler, Raheem.
Rick never folds, so I can only imagine he's contemplating a re-raise, possibly.
Nope, just calls. So 3 to the flop.
The last one's the hardest. This one's cooler, no?
Do that again? Do that again.
4-10 ace. Action starts on Barry while Antonio continues to entertain the table. Barry bets 9,000 with top pair.
Somebody check his chips. They got magnets in them or something.
Chow, middle pair.
But I like my hands nice and... You have soft hands?
Now it's all worth it because I got to see that.
Don't you have to have a callus here?
Raises to 20,000, and Rick folds.
Bad time for Chow to make a move.
How much for laying, Chow?
About 45, 50. It's about 50 something.
It's unlikely a worse hand would call this bet, and also unlikely a better hand would fold.
Barry re-raises to 50,000.
Oh, what I do with that? Ace no good, huh?
Every time somebody re-raises him, he mumbles in a different language.
For Chow to make this call, he has to put Barry on an insane bluff.
It's really amazing.
30,000 more to call. Chow basically has to move in or fold.
All right, man.
And it's option B, fold.
It's the Barry Show, ladies and gentlemen. And here's your host. It's Barry.
Mr. Greenstein.
Ace on the river.
Barry's selecting good spots to make raises, and it's working out for him to the tune of almost 150,000. He's tops of the table in both aggro factor at 2.7 and continuation bet at 100% through 83 hands. Now, if it were mathematically possible, Barry would continuation bet more than 100% of the time.
It's a new math thing. Raheem straddling, so the loose cannon, first act, and folds. Viffer's out. Barry, ace, jack. Raises to 2,500. Action folds over to Chow.
Anybody want to bet Barry continuation bets the flop?
Chow
That's
calls.
a steam call. Steam call.
So what kind of call is that?
I think Rick's actually decided he doesn't want to have to carry all those chips home with him.
They can get a bit heavy in your fanny pack.
Having a fanny pack's a bigger problem than having chips.
The flop. Ace-7 queen. Check by Chow, top pair.
Rick's also got a pair.
And checks.
They both check.
And Barry does c-bet.
Continuation betting with the best hand. Top pair, best kicker.
Chow calls.
Since Chow called pre-flop with an ace, he probably wouldn't get away from it for just one bet. He's got serious kicker problems.
Over to He Hate Money, who calls.
He Hate Money got by far the worst of it.
The turn. The king of diamonds. Check by Chow.
Rick has picked up flush and gutter ball draws at this point, but a diamond would not be good for him.
Rick fires 17,000.
Barry's still got the best hand, and he's picked up more outs to the flush, as well as a gut shot.
You will sign the book when you take all my chips, right?
Barry calls.
That's Barry's way of saying, yes, Rick, I will sign your book.
Chow folds.
Oh, man.
So now down to 2 on the river. The 8 of clubs.
Neither player's hand improves.
Oh, man.
Rick's still stuck with a pair of 7s.
Check.
Rick checks. Barry checks. And wins.
Yeah, that's good.
Barry doesn't see the need for a value bet.
So Barry picks up a pot worth more than 57,000. He has profited nearly 60 grand in the last 2 hands.
Oh, how you running, Barry?
With the nut flush redraw.
Playing good.
Yeah.
Running good. Life is good. Is that all the goods? Is there any more?
Obviously didn't play that good. I
Look
checked the
good.
river. Checked the river with the best hand. How good can I be playing?
Take one look at your chip stack, Barry. That should give you some indication. We're back with more after this. Welcome back to the big game. Hand 87 out of 150. Barry Greenstein straddles, so action on Antonio with pocket aces.
Always nice to wake up with 2 pieces of ace.
Raised to 2,400. Chow folds. 9 high for Rick Raheem. On the button, folds.
I'm amazed.
Not my kind of hands, just my kind of game.
8-7 off suit. The loose cannon's out. Queen, queen, uh-oh.
Viffer could get in some real trouble here.
Just calls, and Barry folds.
Does anyone else feel it getting cold in here?
The flop. Queen, deuce, 9. Viffer flops a set.
This was going to be a cold deck either way, but this is just ice cold.
And he slow plays it. Checks over to Esfandiari.
Antonio's in a very tough spot. Impossible to know he's beat right now.
That's 3,400.
Viffer's in a great spot. He's got the nuts right now.
Comes over the top to 10 grand.
Very difficult to get away from this hand. There just aren't a lot of ways to be beaten, and there are a lot of draws out there that Viffer could be betting. Since Antonio has the ace of hearts, he knows Viffer isn't on the nut flush draw. That may help him a little, but even still, it's tough to get away from a hand like this, especially against an aggressive player like Viffer.
Antonio re-raises to $28,000.
It's pretty understandable to not be able to fold there, but by raising, you're only giving your opponent 2 options, fold or shove on you. If you're ahead, you don't want him to fold, and if you're behind, you don't want him to shove.
Viffer shoves.
Oh, it's so sick.
Antonio probably has a pretty good idea he's beat now. It's been over 90,000 put in on this flop when there was only 7K to begin with. Pretty tough to imagine now that one pair would be good, but Antonio may feel as if he's pot committed.
This would be for the rest of Antonio's stack.
Viffy. Probably got me, you know? But I'm pretty tilted and steamed.
Antonio calls.
Want to run it twice?
Whatever you want.
We'll run it twice.
Deal.
I have 3 queens.
God, you just own me, Viff. You really do.
Looks like the magician's about to get the rabbit pulled out of his hat.
So they've agreed to run it 2 times. We will see the turn and the river twice, each time playing for half the pot.
Antonio's apparently agreed with himself to not show his aces to the table.
Jack on the turn.
Chow folded an ace, so you can see Antonio's got 1 out singular.
The first river card. 3 of clubs. Viffer wins half the pot.
Oh, I think I'm gonna quit. Oh. It's not your day, it's not your day. Right, Chow Chow?
Yeah. Me and you and
It's not your day,
Sembo.
it's not my day. I think it's time for me to go.
Me and you, Sembo. That's exactly what I'm thinking.
Do you have outs?
I definitely have outs.
Run number 2, 10 of hearts.
It's a very good card for me.
Antonio can hit hearts now.
Looking for outs, that can't be too bad.
Do you have flush?
It's a very good card.
The river. Antonio is saved.
Ship it.
But he's still here.
Oh my God.
I don't want you to leave here.
Oh my God, I'm staying. I was about to quit.
Wow. Somehow the magician manages to saw that pot in half.
You had me steam, kid. I stuck it in with aces, 80,000, you know?
You can add escape artist to the magician's resume now, but he's still stuck close to 60 grand. Barry and Viffer are up huge while Chow continues to struggle, and the loose cannon is down almost 23 grand.
He's not in danger territory yet, but Troy's still going to have to step it up if he wants to walk away a winner. I really mean it this time.
So Antonio survives to live another day after catching that lucky river. Meanwhile, our loose cannon has made up some ground, but he still has a ways to go. Will he get there? Join us tomorrow to find out. I'm Amanda Leatherman saying goodbye for now, and remember, if you've got the cash and the guts, there's always a seat open at the big game. See you next time.
For Joe Stapleton, I'm Chris Rose. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Are you happy about
I'm
that?
doing great.
You're happy.
I was about to quit. And I
I'm
never
doing
quit.
great also. I actually had a chance to embarrass Antonio again.
Yeah. I was worried for you there.
So was I.
But what about me?